Well, g'day and welcome back to the shed. And this is part 2 of this big radiola model, what is it, B17TW. I think I said CW before. The printing is quite bad on the chassis here, it's quite smudged, so it's hard to tell, but I think it's TW now. Anyway, in part 1 I got it going by replacing a very dodgy cap in the oscillator circuit, did a recap, and then spent an unreasonable amount of time trying to get the magic eye tube working as it should. But that's all now working, and I've given it a bit of a clean up and tidy up. So now the next thing is this, the FM module. So that's going to be an interesting little exercise. First of all, I'm just going to give it a quick IF alignment. I think the RF alignment checks out pretty well, but I'll have a look at that. Unfortunately, I have no alignment instructions here, and there's so many trimmers and adjustments on this, it's really hard to work out what does what. But yeah, I'll do my best anyway. The IF is obvious. Anyway, I'll get on with that, and then we'll see how we go with this FM. I've confirmed, well, it's written on the schematic anyway, that the IF frequency is 455, so I'm going with that. And I'll set up the old leader for 455. I've got 448, 449. The dial on this is reasonably good, but it's probably better to set it up here. 455.3 it's saying now. Just take it down, point 1. 455.1, that's about as good as you're going to get, I think. Now I've got the output set quite high to start with, so I'll put that in and just see what we hear. Then I'll adjust the output down. I've got it set up. I'm going to, I know I shouldn't do it this way, I'm going to do the top adjustments first because turning it over is a bit of a drama. Then I'll turn it over and do the bottoms and the tops together. I just want to see if I'm going to get anything out of it or whether it's very close to right now. So we'll see. Now this is going to be noisy, not much I can do about it because again we have this field coil speaker and I can't really put it on a dummy load easily without desoldering wires and stuff. So I'll just cut down the audio on the video. The other thing is I don't have my overhead camera operating today, so hopefully you can see the meter there. I don't know how much you'll be able to see of it, but I'll do my best. Okay, so here we go. And that is coming up a lot. That has come up an incredible amount. Damn, I've just broken my ceramic screwdriver. This worries me a bit because this slug is turned almost all the way in. Anyway, I'll go down a little bit further and see how we go. I've taken the top off the can so that I can get to it with a normal screwdriver. It could be live, I'm aware of that, so I'm just going to be careful. So here we go, some noise again. Okay, now this one. Now that again is screwed right down, so I don't know what's happening here. I'll turn it over, or turn it on its side perhaps, and try adjusting the bottom of the coil as at the same time as you're supposed to do. It's going to be a little bit awkward. I don't know if I can successfully video it, but we'll see how we go. Well, that's about the best I can get out of it. I'd like to see how it performs now and make sure it all works well. But given the amount I got out of those IFs, I would imagine that that there should be a substantial improvement. So I'll just hook it up and see how it goes. Okay, I've turned it on, it's just warmed up. We'll see how we go.
Our property expert will weigh in. And on the checkup, Perth GP, Dr. Ramia Rahman wants to tell you about a new nasal spray to treat anaphylaxis. And have you had your whooping cough vaccine and why you should consider it? That's coming up after 5:30.
Good afternoon.
So that magic eye is closing right up, and that's not the strongest station. So we're coming up to 6 PR, which is
offensive. Parliament was hosting a Chinese New Year function on Monday evening.
It's about the same.
To use a motion to call some government members back to the law.
Forest. The corporation cleared the land between 2019 and last year as part of its bauxite mining operations without seeking proper Commonwealth approvals. It'll still
That's
be
about as
allowed
close as it's going to get.
privileges for another 8 of their
We might be able to find 6IX along here somewhere too.
With the diversity of choice in our media. Vision Australia Radio gratefully acknowledges the support.
No,
of the
that's a
broadcasting.
community radio.
And we'll meet with the Bureau of Meteorology tomorrow and Friday for updates. All participants will receive a text by 4:30 Saturday morning with a decision on the start time.
Now at 6AX Finance Update.
The ASX.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of interference on 6IX. Unfortunately, we always do. It's a weak station, some distance away, but there also seems to be a lot of interference around that area on the dial, so it's hard to get. In any case, it seems to be a lot more sensitive than it was before. Okay, so now for this FM module. I've already attached the wires to the FM module. I did this in my video of the Briton Radio that I originally intended to fit this to. Unfortunately, that didn't work out very well. And I got to the stage where it says to mount the AM saver module, that's this one, on top of the FM DW module using metal spacers, 4mm outside diameter, as shown in figure 4. So here we have figure 4, and yes, it goes on top like that. Like that, I think. I'll double check that. And I didn't have any spacers that would fit through these holes. They are quite small, and the smallest I could get were 3mm. So I've now got some smaller spacers. These are 2mm ones, M2, metric 2mm. I could possibly have used 2.5, but I couldn't get spacers, nuts and bolts all to match in 2.5, so we're stuck with 2, but that's fine. So I guess I'll mount the posts on the FM module to start, and just pick up that little nut. Okay, that's one. Yep. And a third one. This wrist strap is really annoying, but I don't want to damage it with any static charges, so I'm just being a bit careful. It is very hot, dry weather in Perth at the moment, and so the danger of building up a static charge is very real. Now, the AM module goes on top of this, and this is used for grounding, so that must go like that. Yes. and I noticed that the labels on the pads on the AM module are on the back of it, so it can be mounted first and then you can solder the wires on afterwards, knowing what they are. So now we have to get these itty bitty screws through the itty bitty holes into the itty bitty spaces. And just checking that there's no shorts going on in there. I'll just put a bit of light on it. The main concern was this power input wire. This attaches to the 6.3 volt filament winding. The pad is very close to this spacer, so you just got to watch that they're not touching. But that looks fine to me now. So this is fairly self-explanatory. AM FM switch goes to there. That goes to the, I guess, the oscillator gang. AM block. Oh no, I don't know what this is. Yeah, I can't see what that's attached to. We'll read the instructions, eh? That's always a good idea. Righto. So first of all, it goes on a bit about the power supply. The AM saver module accepts 4 to 6 volts AC or DC, in which case a vertical strap must be placed between the AC-DC in pads of the two modules. That's simple enough. If the FM module is supplied with more than 6 volts AC, a rectifier diode must be used instead of the strap with the anode connected to the FM module. So I presume just to use the voltage drop on the diode. The diode must have a voltage drop of 0.6 volts to 1.2 volts and a forward current of at least 200 milliamps. Well, exactly what voltage is going to go to the FM module, I'm not really sure. Our power supply here varies quite a lot, and on a warm day when everyone's got their solar going, it can get up to 245 volts. So at the moment, coming in with the Variac on full, we've got 245 there today. So with that on, I'll just see what the voltage is on the filament supply. Okay, it's switched on, so let's just see what we've got. 5.5 volts AC, so we should be right then. Okay, so I've already attached this red wire to the AC/DC in pad on the FM module, so if I just cut that and bring it out the top here, and I'll just strip a little bit off that. There we go, and I'll just poke that up through its little bottom. Go on, in you go. Don't want any stray wires. Is that it? Yep, that's good, I think. The rest of this red wire I'll just tack on top of it. Next, depending on your configuration, several vertical straps must be connected between the AM saver pads circled in white. See figure 4. So there's figure 4, and there's these two pads here circled in white. So looking at it, that will be those two, and the FM pad underneath. So we have two pads just down there. So I guess if I just solder a couple of wires onto those pads and bring them up through the bottom of these, same as I did with the power supply one. Okay. Over the page it says in local oscillator mode, as I've skipped through the other modes. The magic eye tube can be used with AM and FM bands. Connect the AM saver pad located by the two AM FM switch pads to the FMDW magic eye pad. Okay, so the AM saver pad located below the two AM FM switch pads. So, okay, here's the AM FM switch, and this will be it here, I guess. Okay, so here we go. I'll just put this through here. bend him over, and we'll just solder him on there. That's fine. So connect that to the FMDW Magic iPad. So where's that? That's got a little tuning cap symbol on it. Ah, here. Magic Eye. So it'll be this one. Alright, so we take this wire and I'll just thread it through here, I guess. Trim it off and we'll solder it up to that. Kind of want to be able to tape this down to the bench so it doesn't move around. Very hard to hold the wire and the module. There we go. Not the world's greatest job, but it will be okay. Alright, what next? Okay, next it says disconnect the grid of the Magic Eye tube at its socket and connect the wire the AM block pad of the AM saver. I guess connect the wire, to the AM block pad of the AM saver. So AM block, so yeah, it's got to be that one. That one goes to the Magic Eye. Disconnect the grid of the Magic Eye and its socket and connect the wire to the AM block pad of the AM saver. Connect the grid of the Magic Eye to the tuning capacitor pad of the AM saver. So that has a little tuning capacitor symbol there, I guess. So that tuning capacitor pad goes to the Magic Eye grid pin, and the AM block goes to the AGC signal, the wire going to the pin. I think that's right. I'll read it through again, but I think that's right. So the green wire goes to the the AM block. I'm connecting the green wire to that, and it goes to the grid lead carrying the AGC signal, and the blue wire goes to the grid pin of the Magic Eye. I'm going to leave these Magic Eye wires unconnected until I've mounted the thing on the chassis, and then I can more easily cut them to length and fit them on. So what does it say to do next? The amplifier LR pads of the AM saver must be connected to the LF amplifier inputs. What? The LR pads of the AM saver must be connected to the LF amplifier inputs. Okay, LR must be left and right, these ones here. RL on the AM saver, yeah, this is the AM saver, must be connected to the LF amplifier, low frequency amplifier, the audio inputs. Okay, so that goes probably to the top of the pot, although there is a phono input. Now I wonder if, I don't think I'll use that in this case. I know it seems counterintuitive, but switching the phono input will probably also have the effect of disconnecting the Magic Eye input and disconnecting various other things that may even stop the oscillator. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with having this operating on the AM medium wave band and just using a switch to switch it over. Bearing in mind this is not a permanent installation. If I was doing it permanently I'd probably do it a different way, but since I'm planning on removing it from this chassis when I've finished, I'm not going to do it that way. I'll have an external switch. So the amplifier R pad is only required for radios equipped with a stereophonic amplifier. Okay, so we don't worry about the R. The amplifier L pad is used with mono receivers, so we're only connecting up the left. and we need a piece of shielded cable for that, grounded at one end. Okay, I've cut a length of shielded cable or coax. I actually found some mono coax, which is handy, not that it matters, and we're using the left pad L. So I'm going to put it on top here because I want access to it later in case I need to change things. So I'll just put it on here. Come on, stay put. The AM detector pad of the AM saver must be connected to the AM detector, which must be disconnected from the LF amplifier input. So I'm not sure where is the best place to do this, whether to take it off at the grid of the triode section or straight out of the detector diode. Let's just have a look at the schematic. So looking at the schematic, the detector diode feeds the top of this second IF, goes down through this resistor network, 22 and 23, through the switch, and yeah, I worked out the switch, so it does go from here across to here, except when phono is selected, to the top of the pot. I'm thinking that's probably the easiest place to connect it, is the top of the pot. That way it goes straight through the grid. Yeah, so, and that's an easy access point. So that's what I'll do. So the detector will be the wire feeding the top of the pot, basically. So that is the AM detector pad of the AM saver. Here we are, yep, AM det. Okay, so I guess we probably, it doesn't say so, but I guess we probably should use shielded cable for that as well. So I'll cut another piece of this coax and I'll put it on there. Put it with the ground facing that way so that I can easily tie them together. There we go. And I'll just twist these two together, and I'm still not sure whether I'll connect them at this end or the other. Okay, and I'll just solder that up, just bleed a bit into it. There we go. So it looks like we're getting towards the end of it. It says the two AM/FM switch pads connect to an external switch enabling the AM bands when closed. Two terminals of the band selector may be used, but yeah, well, I've decided not to do that and have an external switch. So I've found a second-hand external switch in my spare parts bin, and I'm just going to connect that up to it in the first instance anyway. We'll see where we go from there. So that's AM/FM switch, it says there, so that's pretty obvious. Now, the most important bit, which comes up first, I think, in the instructions, but I've left till last, is to connect it to the oscillator. So, local oscillator, here we go. For LO mode, local oscillator mode, the local oscillator circuit is extremely sensitive and should be connected with care. Okay. To prevent parasitic capacitance from altering the signal, connect the local oscillator signal from the AM tuner to the octagonal oscillator pad. Now I've already got a wire from that somewhere, using the shortest possible wire, and avoid placing the wire close to other wires and near metal parts. So looking at the chassis, this is the oscillator gang here. I think I can probably connect it directly to the oscillator gang tag here, and I can probably mount it on the side of the tuning cap just here. And what I might do is just fire it up and make sure we've got a nice or a sufficient signal from there, because I know it's only going to be a low level signal. So long as it's clean, it should be all right. But I might just have a look at it and see what it looks like. Okay, well, I've got the radio running. And I presume this is the oscillator gang, just checking. stops it entirely, signal disappears.
Planning her own funeral, which he finds sort of quite morbid, really.
Yeah.
So
it will be that one.
by people he goes along to
Let's just have a look with the scope and see what we can find. I'll put that on ground.
The person who took over from him as the head of the archaeology department.
Of course the scope will...
Lovely friends.
Sorry. Of course the scope will pull the oscillator down, but at least I guess it will. Let's just see. That looks good. That's a pretty good signal there. I'll just tune it. That's fully open. I'll just go down a bit. But yeah, that's clearly working and giving a good clean signal, so pretty happy with that. So the next thing is to attach the FM module to the oscillator, gang, and I thought, well, to keep the wire as short as possible, I'm going to mount it on top of the tuning cap here. So I was thinking of putting it here. I think that would work okay, and I can just run a very short wire across to the top of the gang there. I don't think that would detune the oscillator too much at all. Okay, so after a considerable amount of swearing and grunting, I've managed to attach this bracket to the side of the tuning cap here, and the plan is that I then put one of these little 2mm screws on the FM module through that hole I drilled there, and we'll put it on there. I have to make sure that this isn't... I don't think there's anything on here that will short, or there could be. I better put a fibre washer or some insulation on that before I do this, I think. Okay, I have a cunning plan. I put some masking tape on that. I'm going to use this ground lug here to attach a earth wire to, but instead of putting it through the big hole, I'm going to put it through the wire hole like that, and then I can solder a good ground lead onto this. So it's all a bit fiddly, but here goes. Okay, we're getting there. Now I need to turn this around like that. Well, it's not particularly tidy, but mounting it on a 45-degree angle like this gives me the shortest possible lead to the oscillator. So I'm going to go with that. I know my OCD wants to have it square to the tuning cap, but then it interferes with this tag on the oscillator gang. It comes out in the wrong place. So that's probably the best I can do with it. So I'll go ahead and wire the rest of this up and come back and see what happens. Well, I've got it all wired in. It's pretty straightforward, really. I've picked up the 6.3 volts here, just straight back to the board. I've just tacked the switch onto the side here at the moment. That's the AM/FM switch. I intend to mount that on the back of the cabinet. But as I said, this is only going to be a temporary installation. I want to put this in another radio of mine, which does not have a magic eye, but I do want to convert to FM because our local ABC is going off AM in only a few weeks, and I'd like to continue to use my kitchen radio. So anyway, just a matter of hooking. That's the area wire there, the switch. This goes into the magic eye. There's the power, and these two coax or shielded cables go into the top of the volume pot where the detector feeds into. In connecting that up, I had to replace all the wiring because once I started messing with the wiring to the pot, it just started crumbling. So I ended up replacing all of that. So it took a bit longer than I thought, and I didn't end up videoing it. But I'm hoping that what I put in place works. I have no way of testing it really until I've set up this board now. So let's set up this FM board if I can and see how it all works. So I've printed off the instructions for setting it up, and there's several versions of this board. The one I've got is the 3.0 setup, and it says that it's the same as the 2.2 setup. So I have to go back to FM DW setup 2.2. So reading through that, the FMDW 2.2 module uses a more sophisticated FM chip than previous versions. A sudden drop in supply voltage or turning the radio back on too quickly after switching it off may prevent the FM chip from operating normally, rendering the module mute and or the push button inactive. In this case, switch off the radio. If the module is powered from the heating circuit, switch the radio back on after 3 seconds. Okay. I hope we won't have to worry about that. FMDW 2.2 module supplied after 9/25/24. That's what is it? 25th of September 24. Use the LED to indicate a problem. Okay, a reset or non-configured module should not light up with the LED remaining blue. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. During a station search, the LED lights up blue for less than a quarter of a second. If the LED remains blue, except for the second parameter settings setup step described below, switch the radio off and on again as described above. If the problem persists, check the condition and operation of the tuning capacitor and the module installation. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that means. I'll go to it if I need to. Okay, step 1. Choose the dial position where the FM starts and press the push button. Setting the dial at an extreme position is not recommended. Step 2. Choose the dial position where the FM band ends and press the push button. So starts and ends. I presume starts at the low frequency end and ends at the high frequency end. It doesn't explain that. But I guess we'll start from the low end. So I'll close the gang. And it doesn't recommend using an extreme position, so I'll start it inboard a little bit, maybe there. I'll just mark it with tape, I suppose, or something, I don't know. Okay, so that's the low frequency end at the right hand end of the scale. Oh well, whatever. And I'll do this, and I'll mark the other end where I want to take it to. So if we go back to here, that's fully open. Oh, hang on, I've got a cable stuck in the gang here. We'll have to do something about that. Okay, that's the low end. I'll take it back up. I don't think this pointer's very well set up. Anyway, I'll take it back up to about there. Just mark it there. And this one I think I set there. Yeah, alright. So I guess we have to put the power on it and go from there. So turning it on. Give it a minute to warm up. I'll take this light off so I can see the LEDs flashing better. So we have a green LED on at the moment. So reading this again. Step 1. Fixed green LED. Choose the dial position where the FM starts and press the push button. So if we go to there and press the push button, I'll use an alignment tool for that. There we go. Step 2, fixed LED blue. Choose the dial position where the FM band ends and push the push button. Okay. Put it there and push the push button. Right. Step 3, blinking LED. Yes, it's blinking blue. Use the dial to set the FM band type according to the blinking LED colour. 87.5 to 108 megahertz green, 76 to 90 megahertz Japan standard, blue and green alternatively, 76 to 108 megahertz Japan extended, blue. I think 87.5 to 108 megahertz, so green. Okay, so we alter that by moving the dial. I don't know if you can see the blinking LED in there, but so I'll try moving the dial along. and green we want green. That's green. Okay. Push the button. Step 4, LED blinking faster. Use the dial to set the de-emphasis according to the blinking LED colour. 70 microseconds for Americas and South Korea, blue. 50 microseconds anywhere else, green. So we want it green. Push the push button. Now it's doing a double flash and I have to turn over the page. Okay, step 5, twice flashing LED. Yes, that's what we've got. Use the dial to set the sound output type according to the LED colour. Mono, green flashes, stereo, blue flashes. We have green flashes already, so I'll just push the push button. Okay, step 6, twinkling LED. Use the dial to set the AFC mode depending on the LED colour. AFC disabled, green twinkles. AFC enabled, blue twinkles. I guess we want AFC, that'd be handy. Alright, so I'll move the dial down until we get blue twinkles. There we have blue twinkles, there you go. I hope you can see that on the video. Okay. The setup is now complete, but for 3.0, sorry. Step 7, LED flashes 4 times. That is, if not using the Magic Eye as an FM signal strength indicator, dial at the beginning of the FM band so the LED flashes blue and press the button. If using the Magic Eye as a signal strength indicator, dial so as to reach the maximum possible deflection and push the button. Okay, so looking at the dial here, it's getting bigger, it's getting smaller, that's smaller, that's smaller, that's smaller. That's the maximum deflection. Alright, and push the button. Oh, what's this? FM, I presume.
Post is a willingness to use legislation to sidestep.
Oops, that's music. Gee, okay, that wasn't too hard. Kind of like that song too, but I better not play too much of it. Let's just see what else we've got along here.
And we want to know what you've been up to on the weekend. You can only describe your weekend using
So, text.
Broken heart emoji, tear emoji, heart emoji.
People do not believe you're on.
And the FM and the Magic Eye is working really well. Don't know what's happening there. It's almost like the
nurses.
Well, that's pretty impressive. Now the other thing I want to try is switching to AM. Does it work? No, we seem to still be on AM, on FM. We're still on FM, guys. We don't have AM at all. I don't know what I've done. Yeah, okay. I'll have to work out what I've done wrong with the AM saver board. Okay, so where do we go from here? With the power off, I think I'll just check that we've got continuity through the AM FM switch for a start. Just checking across the contacts here, and yes, we've got continuity. Turn it to FM and it's off. Yep, so that switch is alright. It's not that. Now I did double check my wiring as it suggested, but checking once again. So the only other wires going out of it are this one, which is the aerial for the FM. We know that works because the FM works. These green and blue wires are the magic iron. We know that works. This is the switch between the AM detector output and the input of the amplifier triode. So this one says AM detector, this one is amplifier, so that is the input of the triode. I'll just check that I've got that correct. So that goes down here to the top of the potentiometer, the volume pot, and it is there. Yep. And the other one runs to the output of the detector, which is under the chassis, so I can't check it, but I must have them the right way around. And in any case, it's not muting the FM, so even if it wasn't not connecting the AM, if that makes any sense. So what else? The power supply. Okay, so now the instructions say to run the power supply to the FM module and then put a strap to the AM module. Since they were strapped together, it was more convenient to solder the wire to the AM saver module. Now there was something about if it gets over 6 volts, it would shut down. I measured the filament voltage at 5.5 volts, and that was on a day with fairly high mains voltage. It does fluctuate a lot here. Okay, I am going to just lift the wire on that. Once the soldering on gets the idea, there we go. Oh, I've lifted the... Oh, it's still attached, it's alright, I'll just leave it like that. And I'll just switch it on and see what voltage we're getting on the... we want AC volts. Don, what are we getting there? 5.8 volts, so that shouldn't have shut it down, I wouldn't think. Just solder that on there. That'll do. Alright, so I'm turning it on again at 228 volts AC going in now. Turning it on, and we'll see what voltage we've got going into that now. I'll just ground this here, and we have 5.15 volts. Okay. So that's on FM.
Serendipitously, penicillin whilst he was working at St Mary's in Paddington. Of course,
okay, so now let's turn it to AM.
Made available, and that is why
nothing.
It involves several other people as well as
doesn't work
all of
at all.
It, and we've kind of squandered this incredible resource a little bit, Northern Henry.
Well, it didn't take too long for penicillin for resistance to show up.
Well, that's disappointing. I don't know why that's not working. Everything is as it should be as far as I can tell with the wiring. I guess I can take it apart and check. I don't know what else I can do.
The environment and climate change, they also should be
if I bridge those pads from the AM detector to the amplifier, I'll see if we get AM then. Nothing to lose, I suppose.
Meeting in New York in 2024, and
so from
there's a high-level recommendation
there to there,
curricula globally for primary and secondary schools. So there is
we're getting AM through it.
how important it is for
So the relay that does that is not closing. Maybe I've somehow damaged the AM saver board. I can't imagine how. I was very careful with it. I'll take it off, see if I've done something silly. I've got no idea. Okay, I'll take the AM saver board off and see if I can see anything that I may have done wrong. Okay, so I've removed the AM saver board and I'm going to start from scratch. The only things I've left on are this white wire is the aerial, which I know is working, and this is the connection to the oscillator gang, and we know that that works. Everything else I've taken off, and I'm going to start from scratch and put on or attach the AM saver board following the instructions. Okay, lastly, the two AM FM switch pads connect to an external switch enabling the AM bands when closed. Well, I've done that. That's still in place. I've checked the continuity. The two terminals of the band selector may be used. No, I'm not going to do that. A micro switch may also be used to detect the mechanical position of the FM band. Otherwise, a separate switch must be used. Well, that's what I'm doing. Down here, I didn't see this before. I didn't notice it. Connect the 1 UF capacitor as shown on figure 5. So figure 5 shows from plus 5 volts to ground on here, a 1 UF capacitor. Perhaps that's our problem. I don't know. Anyway, I think there was a 1 UF capacitor in one of the bags. There's certainly a capacitor there. And it is indeed 1 UF at 50 volts. So I'll connect that up as directed and see if it makes a difference. So it shows it connected from ground to, and this print isn't very good, but the second terminal down from the top, and this says AM FM switch. So from the switch terminal to ground. Okay. Now in doing that I managed to break off the wire to the oscillator gang, so I'm just going to replace that with a little bit of tin copper wire here. It's going to be a bit stronger and perhaps help to mount the modules better. So that looks fine, that's soldered on there. I think that's it. Let's just try it again, shall we? Turning on. Now I don't know if this will need to be reconfigured or whether it remains configured until it's reset. I guess we'll find out. It's currently switched to FM, so we'll just give it a minute to warm up and see what happens, if anything.
The name of Islamic State. They've been the target of hate crimes by those claiming to be acting on behalf of the group. These boys and men...
Okay, so the FM is still working. Now for the big moment, let's turn it to AM.
The investigative reporter Sean Rubenstein Dunlop, who's...
Yes, we have AM.
Grace said. He had also swigged from the rum bottle that police found
Beautiful.
in the car before the crash.
Let's just try
Grace said as he summarised
FM
a medical
again.
report that pointed to...
Calls for teens to be shown video of this shocking crash.
Well, that sounds very good. The sound quality on FM is very good, as you'd expect.
Join us tonight at 6.
According to the latest government data, Australian mining paid $74 billion in taxes and royalties in 1 year. It's enough to fund Medicare.
I think I would have preferred not to enable AFC.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So
different competition.
Really sorry.
Okay,
And more
gotcha.
tickets tomorrow.
Okay, love that.
Anyone here would like to hear some salacious schoolyard slander?
Salacious schoolyard slander.
I love this.
That'll probably get me kicked off YouTube. And that's music, so I can't play that. And that could also be music.
Short and sweet. And finally, can Wellington continue the trend? Multiple cuts to winning directly after a head coach moves on. Can they get it done again?
In any case, very happy with that. And
We are incident free, which is good at this stage. Looking to
there
the
we
freeway
go.
northbound, busy Ankertel Road and then Mill Point Road to Hay Street, Cedric Street to Warwick Street. On the southbound run on the freeways, flow Loftus Street to South Terrace, Canning Highway and then Beelia Drive to Ankertel Road.
okay, you can't ask for better than that. That's perfect. Well, there we go. Finally back in the cabinet. It's taken a bit of work, but I decided not to video at all. You've seen me do cabinets before, and this probably wasn't the greatest one I've ever done. But a couple of things I'll point out. I put this Perspex cover over the fuse holder because you had live fuses there, and it would be very easy to stick your finger in that. And I've also managed to get a set of correct knobs for the side of the radio, the tuning and the band switch. These are very nice knobs from a good friend of mine, Reg. So thanks very much, Reg. Much appreciated, mate. And in order to fit them, there's always more. This little wheel at the bottom here, I'll find a pointer. This little wheel at the bottom here is the band selector, and it has a string running around it which controls a pointer which moves up and down, indicating the band that you've selected. Now, that was a problem getting it out of the cabinet, and it was a bigger problem getting it into the cabinet. This is the one I took out of it, and someone, as you can see, has soldered the spindle into the wheel. Now that meant that it was impossible to get this spindle through the side of the cabinet and the knobs through the front without some serious, very scary bending and pulling. In fact, I don't know if you can see in there or not, but someone has carved a slot along here so that you can squash this wheel in, and it will, with a bit of bending of the cabinet and whatever, and potential loosening of cabinet joints, it will pop through and go out. It does bend the volume pots and the switches on the front, pretty scarily doing it though. So I had a scrap chassis there, so I took the wheel off the scrap chassis and fitted that. The other problem with this is that they've soldered the wrong end in. The knob takes, well, this is the correct one. This spline end goes into the wheel, and the end with the flat on it attaches to the knob. So you couldn't put the correct knob onto this anyway. So firstly, the tuning dial, and it has a nice internal spline on it. So I'll just put that through here, and it should just press on, and it does. That's good. It only just makes it though. I would like that to press into the spindle a little bit more. I don't know what I can do about that. I think perhaps I replace the grommets under that tuning cap perhaps unevenly. The back perhaps needs to tilt up a little bit. Anyway, let's try fitting the band switch. So this is a nice little switch, this one, and yes, it has a half round thing there and a grub screw just there, so I'll do that up, and that just pushes into the spline, and that's no problem at all. I noticed the tuning cap has these two screws holding it onto the rear bracket here on top of the grommet, and I can just about get a screwdriver in there to loosen them. So what I'm going to do is just lever the back of it up a little bit to get it level and then tighten them up. And now we have plenty of room to press this tuning knob in on its spline properly. So that's comfortably in quite a long way, and that's working perfectly now. Now the other thing I've done is the owner made up this back for it because it didn't have a back on it, and That's fine, but I didn't think there were enough ventilation holes in it. The 6V6 in particular runs good and hot, but yeah, I thought it really needs more ventilation, so I put some more holes in it, particularly around the area of the 5x3 and the 6V6, and some more holes along here. Not a particularly pretty job, but it will do what we need it to do. And I put some Carl's felts on the knobs and they just push on, so that's easy. And the volume, well, there we go. Now I ended up using paint stripper to strip that dark varnish off this. I used the Polystripper original formula, which unlike most of the others hasn't been watered down, so it still actually works. But like all strippers, you don't know what you're getting till it all comes off, and there were some fairly ugly bits under this. I've tried to camouflage them as best I can, but it's far from a perfect job. Let's just see if this band switch works. So there we go there, that's on phono, broadcast, and the 6 shortwave bands. So I'll go back onto broadcast. I'm not sure if we're on AM or FM, but let's just turn it on and see if it works. So plugging in, gee, I do hope it works. I'd hate to have to pull it apart again after all of this. Turn it on, we've got 235 volts in today.
Sleeping. I had a knock at my door and I opened my door.
I'm not picking much up, why not? It's not picking anything much up. Why is that? Okay, I'll try turning the FM AM switch, see what happens. Okay. We're not getting anything at all. Okay, we're in trouble. Okay, I think I may have found the problem. When I was levering up this tuning gain to get it level, I think I brought this contact on the bottom of the gang here in contact with the chassis here, so I'll just bend that back again and hopefully that will bring about a reasonable improvement. Well, that really is great sound. I hope I don't get pinned for copyright for it.
Enjoy the sights of Asia whilst you listen to the sounds of SBS.
You can care all you want.
The AFC seems to take a minute to click in. Alright, well let's try AM, because we know it works.
Under Ross's system and
there we go.
Probably a little bit harder.
Would be the last thing to target.
And if you had to guess, and I'm not sure there's much point in guessing, petrol prices surging by as much as 30 cents a litre.
Well, there we go, working and working really well. I can't get over the amount of real estate this thing takes up on the benchtop, though. It is a lot of radio. But yep, I suppose you get what you paid for in those days, and more money, more radio. Anyway, the FM is surprisingly good. It works really well. It took me a little while to get my head around fitting it, but I'm sure it will be easier the second time around. Like most things, you do it once, you struggle with it a bit. The second time it's easy. So hopefully that'll be all right. I wouldn't mind doing one of these again. As I said, I'll be taking the FM module out of that and using it in one of my radios that I want to keep for FM. But I hope the owner's going to be happy with it. I will fit Bluetooth to it, as I said. The cabinets, yeah, it's okay. I haven't been able to make it perfect. It is what it is. But hopefully it's an improvement on what we had. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with something else. So we'll catch you then. Bye for now.